Good morning, Unity on the River. We're going to start this beautiful Sunday service lighting a candle of peace and hope for the world. So I'd like to invite Will and Trinity up here to light the candle of peace. I'm calling you up, you beautiful beings. They're putting away their things. Yeah. So come on up, and there's a lighter. And so just hold this in our hearts, in your hearts, as they light this candle of hope and peace for the whole world. Because we are standing on holy ground, and we know that there are angels all around. So let us praise Spirit now, for we are standing as God's presence on holy ground. Standing on a holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Let us praise Spirit now, for we are standing as God's presence on holy ground. Join us. We are standing on holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Yes, there are. Let us praise Spirit now, for we are standing as God's presence on holy ground. We are standing. Stand up with us on holy ground, and synagogue. Thank you all who are in service and all of us and all the angels that are here. Let's sing Om Shanti.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Cherie.
To see peace inside my mind, God, and only God is moving me. Peace inside my mind, God, and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, 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 Om. Peace inside my heart, God, and only God is moving me. Peace inside my heart, God, and only God I live to see. Peace inside my mind, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om. Peace inside the earth, God, and God is moving me. Peace inside the earth, God, and only God I live to see. Peace inside the earth, God, and only God is moving me. Peace inside the earth, God, and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, 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 Om.
Let's do an Om together. Keeping our eyes closed, we call in the presence that is already here. It's within us. It is in each and every one of us as us. We are standing on holy ground, and we are blessed. And we send out that blessing to the whole world as this unity beam of light sends out its gift, the message that there is only one of us, and so it is. Amen and amen.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
And so it is. Please be seated. And we welcome Michelle Gallant up to do our
Good
welcome.
morning. I stand in the presence. Namaste. Welcome to Unity on the River. Do we have any newcomers here today? Anyone here for the first time? Welcome so much. Our ushers do have our packet of information for you. And we welcome you. We honor all paths to God. We're so delighted to have you here. Your presence enriches us. And we want to welcome our streamers also, and anyone else watching online later. Unity on the River is a center of celebration, inspiration, transformation, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. These are our core values that we hold dear. Please join me in saying our mission and vision statement. Our vision:
Centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony.
And our mission: we are a
Vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity.
And now is the time in our service when we greet each other in love. Bow or a hug if it's appropriate, if the person is willing. We say hello to each other in love. Namaste. It's hard to tear ourselves away, isn't it? So wonderful to see everyone and new faces. Judy, it's wonderful to see you, and John, Will and Trinity, Shirley, yes. Oh, so we have an awesome speaker coming up. We know Cyndi Swall forever is our dear friend, and she's going to speak about, well, to my mind, it's about being fearless. Fearlessly dreaming in troubled times. And so I have that song in my repertoire. It's called Fearlessly Dreaming. So here it goes. and I will walk through the shadow. Though my heart pounds when you are near, and I will stand in the valley beyond all my fear. Thank you. Cherie and Holly as our beautiful backup singers. Holly's just back from an incredible trip.
Incredible.
Where did you go?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. To
Rhythmia.
It
was beautiful.
Yeah, good. You've been beamed up.
I am beamed. I'm supernova.
I know this. Oh boy, so we have the great delight and honor of having with us one of our own, Cyndi Swall, who took us through the transformational process in 2014, and she's been with us as a teacher and a speaker for many, many years. She's always inspirational. She speaks all over the world, all over the nation, and guides people through processes of change and hope and inspiration. So let's welcome our own Cyndi Swall.
Well, I'm just looking around and realizing I feel really overdressed because I have shoes on. I was like, I'm feeling like I should get rid of them and ground. So at any point throughout the presentation, just know that's what I'm doing. But, oh my gosh. Good morning, my sweet Unity on the River family. Oh, I just have to look around for just a moment. I wish I could see who's out there in webinar land, because just write me a note on Facebook and let me know you're here so that I know that you've been with me. So I'm really, really grateful to be here. I've flown literally halfway across the country to remind you of the most critical and possibly most underused human resource that God has given you. I'm talking about the gift that has the capacity to dramatically impact the overall happiness of your life. And it's the one thing, the power that we tend to give away to other people and to circumstances the most. And what I'm talking about is your free will. So we're going to be looking at the 8th power of the Unity 12 powers today, which is will. And what we know is that every moment of every day, and let me know if you can still hear me, I'm going to try to move this out of my face. Every moment of every day you are making a decision. Not good? Okay. All right. So every moment of every day you're making a decision, right? You're deciding what you're going to have for breakfast. You're deciding who you're going to spend your time with and how. You're deciding how you're going to respond in times of adversity. Constantly making choices. You are never at a choiceless moment. And we know that. And the thing is that every choice that you make is really what spurs your actions, the actions that you take. And the actions that you take every day, well, that becomes your life. And so it's important for us to recognize that as we are making these choices, if you're not waking up every day and taking a look at what's around you and really getting excited about the adventure that is before you today, you have to stop and ask yourself, what am I choosing? What am I choosing today? Unity's 12 powers defines will this way. It says, the ability to choose, lead, and decide. And granted, we are in a period of time right now that it's been very difficult for us to do those things. So as we start to look at this, the disciple associated with this particular power is Matthew. And that's because Matthew represents conscious decision making. That's what Matthew is all about. The color of this particular power is silver. So Meg sent me a text a couple of days ago, and she said, what color are you wearing so that we can all match you? And I was like, let me say just first of all, I've never had a church ask me that question, and it speaks very highly to my aesthetics, and I'm most impressed. So thank you for that. And so I did look back as far as I could in the back of my closet, and I still could not find any silver clothing. But I will say that I am all about the silver accessories. That's my jam. So silver does work for me. And I do think that silver is very powerful. And of course, Meg has a silver dress. So anyway, so when we started looking at the colors always evoke some kind of an emotion anyway, right? And so color is just a very powerful, very magnetic, very reflective sort of a color. And so that's one thing that we're looking at. And the 8th power, by the way, is located in your body in the front of your brain. And it's interesting that it doesn't just say it's in your brain. It says in the frontal cortex of your brain. And the reason for that is that the front of your brain, that's your executive brain, right? That's probably the lesser used, more conscious thinking portion of our brain. And that's where we do our planning. That's where we pay attention. That's where we have self-control. All that lives up here, which is why, that's why you have to be really patient with like teenagers, because the frontal cortex of their brain hasn't actually connected all the way yet, so be patient. Happens about 24, 25, some people later. But that's really what it's all about. But the problem is about 99% of the day-to-day decisions that we make from the back of our brain, which is the more primitive brain, the amygdala, also known to some as the reptilian brain. Right? So when we talk about the reptilian brain, the reason that this is a challenge when we're making all of decisions from back here is that this is the place in your brain that's more of your habitual patterns of behavior. It's your fight-flight syndrome. It is the areas where we tend to panic just a little bit. It's very emotional. So making decisions from back here is very emotional, which is also very feminine in nature, right? So there's times when we need to just have a gut reaction and we need to trust our instincts. That's when we're really working with our feminine. But when we're making all of our decisions day to day from this part of our brain, then as we know, we're going to start running into some complications, because what we're doing is we're being pulled around from all of this outside stimuli. And that's what's been going on for us for a very long period of time. There's studies now that indicate that we can actually become addicted to making trivial choices. You believe that? So how does that happen? It happens because we are focused on so many different things at the same time. We have so much non-related data coming through our cranium at the same time right now that we're not focusing on anything. Western civilization is really, we're like one of the very few countries in the world that actually values multitasking, right? We think that's a skill. The rest of the world says, I mean, that just means you're mediocre at everything, right? But we think we're getting more things done. And so as a result of that, then it just creates all of this outside stimuli that we are just reacting to rather than having the opportunity to stop, to think through it, and to respond accordingly. So they're not well thought out. But the problem is right now, what's going on the planet right now, we have got to get really good at accessing all the parts of ourselves, don't we? Our masculine and our feminine, right? And so the reason that we have to do that, we got to get that pendulum to swing back, because we need all of those pieces and parts right now for decision making. And granted, the uncertainty of recent history, not surprising when we wake up every day and we think to ourselves, like, what's next? Like, what's going to happen now? And so what it does is it gets us stuck in the waiting. We're stuck in the waiting for whatever it is, waiting for all of the flu strains to be gone. Spoiler alert, this is now a $4 trillion industry. It's not going away anytime soon. So understand that. Also, waiting maybe for the economy to recover. All right? But the challenge, we know this in New Thought, right, is that energy must move, right? If we start hoarding our resources or we quit spending, that actually is a deficit on our economy. That's how we get into a recession. So understanding if that's part of what we're waiting on. Maybe we're just waiting for the planet not to be crazy anymore. Anybody waiting on that? But I mean, seriously, let me remind you, ask any generation, right? We have all different generations in this room. Ask any generation. It's always been insane in some form or fashion. So this is not new information. So we have to figure out, based on all of that information, and I understand, but that doesn't minimize the fact that it's super scary to make decisions when you don't really know what the future holds. So we're kind of sitting on stuff, trying to figure out what to do. And that's very real. So I know it's raw, I know it's real, I'm not making fun of that. But what I'm here to say is that it's important for us to say, yeah, I mean, be judicious, do your research so that you can make informed decisions. But, I mean, for the sake of any type of expansion, for God's sakes, make a decision of some kind. So one of the things that I started to notice, too, when you're talking about making a decision is that one of the things that used to bother me, and my daughter was this way, too, is that I had a really hard time when I was a kid putting stuff on my walls. Because I was always worried that if I put it on the wall and I didn't like it, then it's like, oh my gosh, I've made this horrible mistake, right? And so I wouldn't put anything on the walls. And I remember very distinctly sitting next to my dad on my bed, and he said to me, he said, babe, there are very few decisions you're gonna make in your lifetime that are unchangeable or life-altering. He's like, just make a decision, and if you make a bad decision, then you get to make another decision. And I remember that was like such a relief for me. Because let's face it, I mean, that's really what life is, right? Life is you get up and you try something and you screw it up and then you get to try it again with new information, right? That's what life is about. So you've got to make decisions and buy lots of command hooks. That is my advice to you. But seriously, I know it is scary, and I know that it's very difficult to make decisions at a time like this, and so it's not surprising to me, though when we start to think about having that pendulum swing back to the center, right? We've made emotional decisions for a while. And by the way, in Unity, we tend to attract us cultural creatives, and we like being in the feminine, right? We like the creative side of it. That's one of the things, quite frankly, that what I would say is the positive effects of this pandemic, if there are any, is that it forced us out of our doingness, didn't it? It forced us to just be. And as a part of that, we really did swing way over into the feminine. And we got very creative. I mean, home renovations went through the roof. People were homeschooling. There's creative outlets that were being created. Families were cooking at home and being together more often. We were forced to communicate because we had to. We were in the same location. So some real goodness came out of that. And as cultural creatives, we like to be in that space because it's fun. Right? But you can only discern on something for so long before you got to take some action, right? Because that's part of the free will. I think for a lot of us, we get in that space where we're like, well, whatever it is, if it's God's will, it'll happen. It's like God's will is for you to have a will. God's will is for you to decide what you want this experience to be like in this human body and take action and make that happen for yourself. It's like you have a full non-physical support system. Meg sang about that in her song. I know there's angels everywhere. You've got a non-physical support system that's here to support you in whatever you decide to do, but you have to decide what it is. They're kind of sitting back there going, okay, what's it going to be? Like, where are we going with this? But they're not going to take action on your behalf unless they know what it is that you want. So that's where the pendulum has got to start to swing back. We are not a victim of this out-of-control reality because we have always been in choiceless moments. But most of the decisions that we've made have been based on our past beliefs about who we are, about what's happening, and about what is possible for us. Right? And so now we've got to take a look at it and say, okay, in this new reality, what does that look like? In the work that I've done with the late, great Stephen Covey, you all know who he is, I assume. Maybe no, yes. Anyway, he's done a lot of work around getting people from a desire to actual manifestation. Now, Stephen Covey never called it manifestation because he lived in the corporate world. He called it goals, right? But what we know for sure is once we get clarity around what it is that we want and we take action towards that, then the stars begin to align. The right people show up, the right information is available to us. That's what starts to happen. So Stephen Covey was actually kind of a pioneer in those regards. I did a lot of work with him and with his son. And one of the things that he taught us is how to balance the masculine and the feminine. And there's actually 5 really big choices that you can make in your lifetime. I was talking to Shipley back there, and she goes, "You're always really good at doing like tactical stuff." I'm like, "I'm going to give you 3 steps. I'm going to give you." But there are really 5 choices that we make that pretty much encompass all of the decisions that we make. And so I'm going to show you what these are. I'm going to share them with you first and foremost, and then we'll go through and we'll dig a little deeper into each one. The first one is you got to act on what's important. And then the first thing you have to do there is decide what's really important, right? Not being in reaction mode. The second thing that you want to do here is we want to go for the extraordinary. You did not come here to be mediocre, right? Go for the extraordinary. How do you do that? I'm going to show you how to do that. Number 3 is you got to schedule what he calls the big rocks. Like the big rocks, meaning the stuff that's really important to you, right? And so I'll dig into that a little bit deeper too. So scheduling the big rocks. Number 4, and we've talked about this before together, and that's ruling your technology instead of your technology ruling you. Basically, the tools that have been created to make our lives easier, in essence, own us now. And so we're going to talk about that. And then number 5 is not new information, but it has to do with fueling your fire, which is basically self-care. That's a big duh, but we got to talk about it. Okay, so those are the 5 big choices. Those are the areas of our lives that will make the biggest impact if we incorporate will into those particular choices. So let me break it down. The first one is what we call acting on the important. So it's not surprising that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? That's not new information to us, right? So basically what it says is that whatever is in front of our face right now that's making the most noise is where we invest our time, energy, and effort. Right, but is that in fact the right choice? So just because we're doing a lot doesn't mean we're doing the right things. Just because your outlook is full doesn't mean you're accomplishing anything. So acting on the important, because we are being pulled in like a million different directions at the same time, we've got to really focus on that. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Edward Hallowell. Look him up. He's amazing. And his focus is really on, he's a psychologist, and he focuses on acting on the important. And he said, people come to him all day long, and they think they have ADHD. He said he has probably 20 people a week come to him and say, "I think I've got ADHD." And he tests them, he does all the chemistry, psychology, and everything, and they have all of the symptoms, right? Restlessness, overwhelm, trouble sleeping, not being able to focus for long periods of time, all of the symptoms. But he says once he does the testing, he realizes, he said, what these people are suffering from is just a severe case of modern life. Is that in reality it's the same symptoms that all the people who are living and working in today's society are experiencing. So if you're feeling these things, you are not alone. This has become the standard for how we operate in the world. And so knowing that, he said it's not those things. He said if you look at our daily activities, they kind of fall into 4 quadrants. And are you running the, okay, Jack, you're on. All right, so I'm going to get over here and try not to kill myself on these bars, so I'm going to get out of your way. Okay, see, if I didn't have shoes on, this would be easier. So I want you to look at these 4. I don't know if you can see them, so I'll read them to you really quickly, but I know you can see those when you're, those of you who are online. So this is kind of how Covey chunks it out. Almost everything we do falls into one of 4 categories, right? The first one is what we call necessity. So if you look at the matrix here, it basically goes from not important to important, from urgent to not urgent. Right? So in the quadrant 1 category, that's the important and urgent, right? Your house is on fire. You have a flat tire on the interstate, right? Something that's going on that is right in front of your face, and you just have to deal with it at the time, right? So some things fall into that category, but the problem is we tend to make everything that's on our to-do list a top priority. So the second one that we come into is what I call distraction. So I'm going to move down to quadrant 3. Most of us live, by the way, in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, distraction and waste. Distraction are all of those things. They're urgent, but they're not important. So what would be urgent and not important? Needless interruptions, unnecessary activities, other people's issues. Have you heard the old axiom that, failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part, right? Those are the things, though, that fall under distraction. There's a lot of things that we do. How many times is like, you got to do something around your house, or you have to build a document, or you have to have a hard conversation, and you find 20 other things to do so you don't actually have to do that thing. Like, those fall under quadrant 3. Now, quadrant 4 is a total waste of time. Like, it's going to be things like trivial work, scrolling your social media, avoidance activities, things like that, gossip, time wasters, all of those things happen. So basically, Edward Hallowell tells us that if we can figure out, okay, what are the things that are important, but they're not urgent? Because that's where we need to be spending our time, and that's the area that we least do that. The things that fall into those categories: meaningful conversation, building relationships, exercise, educating yourself, self-care, all of those things, it's like they're not on fire. So why don't we do it? Because they're not on fire. And so, but in essence, across the board, what we're saying is that in order for you to feel like you have made meaningful decisions about your life, they need to fall into that quadrant 2 category. All right, thank you, Jack. We can be done with that. I moved over so I wasn't in the way. All right. So basically, in essence, when we start to look at the obvious message here is to spend more time in quadrant 2, right? The important but not urgent, to try to figure out, okay, but those are conscious. Remember, that happens in the frontal cortex of your brain. That doesn't happen back here. That means that when you get up in the morning, you have to actually set an intention to do those things. I don't know about you, though. If it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen, right? So you have to make sure that you've created mechanisms for that to work. So we have got to proactively tell a new story about what we want so that we can dig new neural pathways in our brain. Because right now, our brains are just going down the same trajectory they've gone down over and over again, because you've actually literally dug a groove in your brain, and your thoughts naturally go there. So telling a new story every day, that's why affirmations are so popular, right? That's why you continue to say something over and over again. It's not till you believe it. It's like, don't fake it till you make it. That's not what an affirmation is. An affirmation is an opportunity to retrain your brain so that you have a neural pathway that your thoughts can go down. That's a little bit healthier than what you've done in the past, okay? So the second one here we're going to talk about is going for the extraordinary. We all came to this planet with the capacity to do amazing things. We all came here with the same tools, the same resources, radically different gifts and talents, all unique to you. But going for the extraordinary is where you start to talking about, your desires that are put in your heart are there because they're yours. They're yours to accomplish, not somebody else's. So what we do is we go, oh, well, that's frivolous, or that's silly. I've got a to-do list that I have to go through. And the challenge is what we do is, on our to-do list, is that there's a literal endorphin that's released from your brain when you check something off a list, which is why we go for the low-hanging fruit, right? We check off all the crap we know we can get done, like super, super fast. You get to done, and you go, look at all the things that I got done today. And then you realize you really got nothing done today that was tied to your big rocks, right? So first thing we want to do is we want to identify what are your quadrant 2 roles, meaning who are you in quadrant 2, because a lot of us don't know. If you introduce yourself to someone, don't you introduce yourself based on your title, your work title, or what you do for a living? Or you even ask somebody, tell me a little bit about yourself, and they tell you all about their work, right? I'm not saying your work's not important. It may be a big part of who you are. I certainly know that mine is. But I will tell you, it's like your quadrant 2 roles should include your passions and your hobbies and the things that just light you up, the things that support those big rocks for you. So when you're going for the extraordinary, maybe you're a musician, right? Or maybe you're an artist, or maybe you are a collector or a marathon runner or whatever it is. All of those things are included in who you are and should be included in how you operate in making decisions about your free will and how you're going to use that time. All right? You are so much more than that. So ultimately, your highest priorities should come from your deepest self. That's how you go for the extraordinary. Number 3, scheduling the big rocks. Remember, what are your big rocks? We've been conditioned to believe everything really is a top priority. And so what I want you to be thinking about is making sure that your big picture rocks make it on your daily to-do list. Do you want to take a trip to Costa Rica? We all do now, by the way. So take a trip to Costa Rica. Maybe you want to finish your degree. Maybe you're writing a book that needs to get done. Maybe you want to lose 20 pounds or buy a house or whatever is up for you. Like whatever those big rocks are for you, they need to make it on your daily to-do list. So let me just ask you this. What are your big rocks? Seriously, just yell them out. What are your big rocks? You got to name it to claim it. What are your big rocks, everybody? Anybody? Yell them out. Got to know what they are. Good. Keep going. Very good. Keep going. Just yell them out, you guys. Let somebody else hear them. Very good. I love this. Keep going. Oh, wow. You go, girl. What else? Fantastic. Do you see what's going on here? These are not dreams, people. These are your to-do list. Do you understand that? These are your to-do list. So you have to make a conscious decision every day to get up and to do that. You do the big rocks first. In fact, when we're just like checking off this to-do list, we think we're accomplishing all of these things. Stephen Covey calls that sorting gravel. Very sorting gravel all day long. We're just sorting gravel. So it's important then that we take a look at making sure that we do our big rocks first, and then we just fill in with the gravel around the outside whenever it might fit. Right, so that's kind of the message of that particular one. Number 4, ruling your technology. This is not new. This has been a nemesis for us for a long time. But it's gotten worse as our technology starts to get more advanced. Right? How many of you use your phone as your alarm clock? Right? So we know we're in trouble there, right? Because you got it in your hand in the morning. Now what are you doing? Scrolling Facebook, looking at your email, whatever. So already got a screen in our face before we ever let our feet hit the floor. So that's a challenge that we have, which, by the way, in fact, they don't even call them phones anymore. If you go to the store and you ask them to buy a phone, they don't call them phones anymore. I worked for Sprint for 10 years. They call them devices. Right? So it's a device. The reason it's a device is because it basically will do everything your computer will do. That's why you never have to let it leave your body. You can just have it with you all the time. So that's a little bit of a challenge, okay? And it becomes very addictive. And I understand this one, by the way. I run my business online. And by the way, I'm not trying to demonize the technology. It can be very productive. It can be very useful. It can be an amazing tool. But the key here is to make sure that you are in charge of your technology and not the other way around. In fact, it's not just your device. Think about it. Remember back in the day where you had to like wait for like a whole week for your next program to be on television? You remember that? Now, between Netflix and Hulu and all this whatever technology is out there, I mean, you can watch TV for days at a time. All you have to do is like get up and pee and get a snack, and that's it. You just can be tied to the tube, right? And so there's so many ways that we can be in distraction or be in waste, the quadrants of waste, okay? So we have to watch out for that. And which, by the way, I mean, sometimes it's really valuable. So think about electricity, right? So we got electricity. Electricity will heat and light your home. It will work hospital equipment, right? It does all of these really good things. It also, when it's used inappropriately, can either start a fire or electrocute you, or there's a lot of things that it can do that are not so great. I think Tony Robbins is the one that said that anything that's high maintenance or high performance is high maintenance. Right? So understanding that we have to take responsibility for those things and not the other way around. And then finally, fueling your fire. Once again, I'm not going to talk to you about anything here that you're not already familiar with, because the factor here is really, it's just about renewal. It's about replenishing and refreshing yourself in some form or fashion. So the components of it are the things you would expect them to be, right? And I will tell you, I'm not that great at self-care all the time either, but I certainly feel it when I'm not. So you have to be consistent. The first one is moving, right? To move your body. And this one's much more of a challenge now than it's been in the past, because the majority of us who used to go into an office or go into a workplace somewhere are now working remotely. Anybody here working remotely now that wasn't before? Right? And so part of what we have to factor in too, if I'm going to sit on my rear end for 8 hours on a Zoom call, I better have some sort of mechanism when I get off of that, which the problem is, though, you get off of an 8-hour Zoom call and the only thing you want to do is take a nap. Right? So I've gotten to where I have to keep like a balance ball or some things in my office so I can get my blood pumping when we're taking breaks and things like that. But it's very difficult to operate from that place and to keep moving. I've heard it said that sitting is the new smoking. Like being sedentary is killing more people than smoking now. So just take that into consideration. Figure out ways to move your body. The second one has to do, which by the way, your brain is a muscle, right? In fact, if you are standing up, right, everybody stand up for just a minute. Just by virtue of the fact, there you go, stretch it out. Virtue of standing up, you actually increase your brain function by 7% by standing up. That's why a lot of people have like standing desks, right? So you actually get a lot more blood pumping. You can pump it through your entire body. In fact, there's research now that says if you can increase your physical activity by 2%, they've been able to tie that back to cognitive decrease is reduced by almost 15%. So for those of us of a certain age, that's a really important thing for us to know, right? Is that if we can move your body, you dramatically reduce your chances of having cognitive decline. So that's pretty cool. All right. You can either stay standing or sit, whatever's more comfortable for you. The next one has to do with eating, and this isn't about counting calories, by the way. It's about having higher quality calories. Obviously, a Snicker bar has the same amount of calories as arugula salad with a piece of salmon and blueberries on it, but they're clearly not created equal, right? And so I think the key here is just to shop around the perimeter of the store. In core learning here, if it grows, eat it. If it doesn't grow, don't eat it. So if you look in your pantry and you realize you have more boxes and bags than you do things in your refrigerator, there's a high likelihood you're not getting high quality food. And a bigger disappointment is that we've gotten to where we don't have joy in eating anymore, because most of the foods that we consume have very little flavor or nutritional value. So it just becomes one more thing we have to do. Fact? So it's important for us to say, okay, let's just kind of take a look at our patterns and habits related to that. And start taking a look at some of these prepackaged foods. Also, remember your brain is 80% water, so if you're not getting appropriate water intake, then that impacts your brain too. Obviously, sleep. I don't think anybody intentionally doesn't sleep, but if you're struggling to sleep, either go to sleep or stay to sleep. Very much related to stress and diet. Relaxation, also number one cause of not being able to relax is stress induction. And so if we are stressed, it has to do with our automatic negative thinking. And so one of the things I would recommend there is whenever I have a thought that's less than productive, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm irritated, whatever, I write it down, and then I use the Byron Katie method to look at it and say, is this true? And then after you answer, well, sure it's true, because then you go, okay, do you know for sure that is true? And very rarely can you answer for sure that this is true, and sometimes that will diffuse it. And then finally, connection, which is crucial. We talk about this all the time. Number one cause of depression right now, lack of connectedness to something bigger than yourself, whether it's relationships, spirituality, community, whatever that looks like. We were born to connect with one another, and that has to be a big part of what we do. We need that now more than ever. So today, I really want to encourage you to take a look at what is most important to you in your life. I want you to root yourself in your faith and find your people and reach out on the regular. All of those things are influencing whether or not you have high levels of satisfaction and life happiness. So make sure that you are incorporating all those things into your world. You are a beloved child of the highest order, and I'm here to tell you that you've got to move forward with confidence. Take a stand, consciously decide what steps you're going to take one in front of the other. You are not meant to end this life with your body, hermetically sealed and intact, right? So you've heard that before. It's like, no, you're supposed to like skid in sideways, all tapped out, going, woohoo, what a ride. Like, that's how we want to end it up. So I would just end you with this thought, which is, what are you choosing? What are you choosing? Are you giving away the eighth power? Are you owning your free will? Because I promise you, no one's going to do that for you. What are you choosing? Thank you so much for letting me spend my morning with you. I've missed you so much. Love you. Thank you.
Oh, so now is the time when we move into a beautiful time of meditation, and we pick this chant, Hare Mukunde, which is God, the remover of all obstacles. It is a Sanskrit chant. And have a harmonium.
And release through the mouth. One more big deep breath through the nose to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. And this time as you release, I want you to feel your shoulders drop. Let your seat hold the weight of your body. And know that you are safe. I choose life. My spiritual will is the energy of confident living, of positive, conscious decision making, of big picture determination. My power of choice helps me stand strong and resilient when I feel challenged. I am in control. I'm able to respect the preferences of others while maintaining my own healthy boundaries. I choose what's best for me, and I hurt no one. I make decisions that are grounded in my positive nature. I expect them to unfold with perfect, joy-filled outcomes. I know that my desires are mine to manifest, mine to accomplish, mine to choose. I notice and appreciate synchronicities and sacred moments that are filled with the unmistakable presence of God. My mind, heart, and inner being recognize and rejoice in the infinite possibilities my free will offers me. And from an elevated spiritual view, I make choices that are life-affirming and growth-oriented. I affirm that I move forward with confidence as I consciously choose each step on my path. Say it with me silently. I move forward with confidence as I consciously choose each step on my path. And I am grateful. Big deep breath through the nose and out through the mouth. Thank you, God.
So called response. Hare, Hare, Mukande.
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 Take from me what I want.
Take from me what I want.
Take from me what I need.
Take from me what I need.
Take from me everything.
Take from me everything
That takes me from you.
that takes me from you.
Fill me with your love.
Fill me with your love.
Liberate my soul.
Liberate my soul.
Fill me with your love.
Fill me with your love.
Illuminate my heart.
Illuminate my heart.
Hare, Hare, Mukande.
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 Hare, Hare, Mukande. Hare, Hare, So now is the time in this beautiful holy moment that we bless our tithes and offerings. So if you could take them in your hands, if you have them with you, or if you're giving online or any way that you donate, just bring that vision into your heart of this wonderful abundance going out into the world to bless the world. So we say our blessing of the tithes and offerings. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. That is the Gospel According to John by John Hyde. Thank you, John. Oh, let's all raise our hands and send our love into these beautiful, abundant gifts that we've been given. What does Denise says? She says, we don't need money. Money needs us. So this money is needed to go out in the world to bless the light of the world. And so it is. Thank you, God. And we have some announcements. I'll invite Michelle up again.
Thank you so much for that wonderful message, Cyndi. It was really great. And next week we will be joined by Martine Bernard. And the following week we have Lisa Natoli. So there's always something great happening here at Unity on the River. Another opportunity for you to grow and learn in Unity is the Eastern Region Conference. And that will be held virtually this year. So you can do it from the comfort of your home. No travel expenses or anything. And that is October 2nd to the 6th. And the theme is Conscious Living, Past, Present, and Future. There are some, I just looked at it, there's some amazing presenters, Paul Hasselbeck, Ricky Briers, who we did one of her songs this morning. There's daily meditation. It's a really great program. So they offer a small group rate, so if a bunch of people want to get together and have a discounted rate, I'm sure we can figure that out. So keep that in mind. World Day of Prayer is September 8th, and Unity on the River will participate in this virtually, and we'll have information on our website about that soon. We have lots of volunteer opportunities. You can see people from the board, people who work for us, doing multiple tasks, which we appreciate them for, and you can grow even more yourself by participating as a volunteer. We need help with PowerPoint and streaming, ushers, greeters, the Board of Trustees, so many other possibilities to help. So please speak to Stan if you'd like to just offer of your time and talent. He'd be happy to speak with you, or to Mark Schneider. And I believe that's all the announcements for today.
I have one more announcement that on August 28th, Leslie Smith has brought forth someone from Gulfport. There's a big Unity church in Gulfport, Florida. And the music director there is named Jay Maya. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but he was on The Voice. He's sung nationally. He's a big presence, and he's going to speak and he's going to sing for us. So we want to invite people to come because I believe his message is wonderful and his voice is amazing. So we'll put it up on the website, but there is a clip from him on The Voice that is just over the moon. We'll all be over the moon for him. So come on, that's the 28th of August. Yes, we are changing that. She has graciously switched with Mia to sing, to speak.
And I wanted to mention about the visioning process that Shipley's going to lead. And Shipley, is that here right after service next week?
Right after service, it is like...
It's by invitation.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Because it would get way too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you all.
You're welcome. So everyone hold the light next week. Send it this
The
way.
28th.
And
That's the 28th.
the 28th as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And next week is the 21st. Yeah, it's not next week.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. Oh, angels,
Okay.
clear everything out for the big song, which is Let Your Light Shine. All right.
So I just want to say that I feel so fortunate to have been a part of a community now for about 16 years that tries to live their life like this song. All right? And thanks for shining all your love and light at me all these years.
Yeah. You may want to stand, move your hips, get your frontal cortex going because you're standing and we're raising the energy here.
You say that you're gonna get older, but what are you gonna do? Let the world go by in the corner of the room. Well, I know that it's none of my business. There's something I got to say. Could see you just like I see you, you'd be flying on your own. So it's time to let your light shine, let your love show. It's a short ride, but it's a long road. The rain comes and the wind blows, let your light shine. John, have some fun. This whole world, it's ready and waiting for you to kick on through. You've got to recognize, realize you're the only one like you. So step on up, step into your greatness. Now don't be afraid. There's a place that you will rise up to. No one else can do it like you do. Step on up and let your light shine. Let your love show. There's a short ride down a long road. When the rain comes and the wind blows, you're gonna let that light shine wherever you go.
right, and Steve Chagarris on drums, on our new drums. Woo! So it's time for our peace song. Before our prayer of
You're not looking
protection.
at me to sing that, are you? You
I
don't want
hope
that
you're
to
going to
happen.
join. All right, our peace song. Let's join hands energetically and with the whole world as we sing our peace song.
The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. I'm sorry, did you say something? The presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is.
And all is well. We are richly blessed.